The perils of an Amazonian summer. Dry, hot and incendiary. We're in the middle of the season of flames. Last year saw some of the highest number of fires ever recorded.
We are now near the municipality of Tapawa, in the south of the state of Amazonas. We are flying over an area that has already been deforested and has now been burning for at least a week here in this region of the Amazon.
The accumulated destruction from years of deforestation, especially under former President Jair Bolsonaro, means that the threat of fires this year is still high. But there is hope. A new administration under President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has placed protecting this great green expanse at the very heart of their governance, and it seems to be working. The Lula administration has been celebrating a massive 66% drop in deforestation this July compared to last. Since he took office at the start of this year, there's been a steady decline. But although heading in the right direction, it pales in significance to the damage done under the Bolsonaro administration. And it's far from the record lows achieved when Lula was last in office. There is, however, still much work to be done. And so this week in Belem, the Brazilian city that sits at the mouth of the Amazon River, leaders of the 8 nations whose borders contain the rainforest will gather. The summit is an effort to seek vital cooperation across the borders to combat deforestation and protect indigenous peoples. Among those gathering will be Raoni Metoktira, chief of the Kayopo people. He recognizes the progress being made under the new government in Brazil, but knows that the president faces an uphill battle.
There are many indigenous communities that do not have land demarcation. And even though the president is in favor of demarcating indigenous lands, what I hear most are threats, speeches, and statements against demarcation in Congress. I immediately think that Congress has to stop attacking us.
Despite the left-leaning president's victory, the Congress has stayed firmly in the grip of a conservative majority, heavily influenced and sometimes financed by big agriculture and its lobby in Brazil, one of the world's agricultural superpowers. Lula himself is under pressure to revive an economy that's in dire straits. He faces a dilemma that has become universal and, in Brazil's case, acute: how to balance the need for economic growth with the need to protect this vast country's green heart. Cue a point of contention before the summit has even begun. Environmental activists gather to protest plans for oil exploration at the mouth of the Amazon River. Lula's government is currently weighing whether to develop a potentially huge offshore oil find. It's created fierce infighting in his own party between environmentalists and those advocating regional development. As the smoke chokes the humid forest air, Brazil's president wants this summit to be known for an ambitious goal, a pledge from all the participants to end all deforestation by 2030. The progress of the last year has shown that this could be possible, until bad politics turns all this into another bonfire of vanity and worse.
Well, earlier I spoke to Raoni Rajau, an environmental scientist now working at the Brazilian Ministry of the Environment. I began by asking him what his expectations were ahead of the summit.
Well, that's actually going to be a very important summit because it's important to highlight that the trade agreement for the Amazon basin has been ongoing existing for 4 decades, and it emerged in a period that was very different from the current one. So it's extremely important to update it and also to bring a concrete aim to the existence of this treaty that bring all countries in the Amazon basin together. And that aim is to avoid the tipping point that's inflicting the Amazon. And of course, it's a problem that concerns us Brazilians very strongly, but also the rest of the world.
It's going to be really tricky, though, because it's 8 different countries all dealing with different economic problems as well. So just how much do you think you'll be able to get through?
If you make a parallel, and that was our background thinking when we proposed the idea of having a name and also a monitoring system, in that case an IPCC-like model specifically for the Amazon, is to start discussing the matter. And we know we have partners at different levels and countries with different levels of development with different needs. And that's actually one of the key principles that also bring us together. But I'm sure that with mutual help and also some external help, we'll be able to have everybody on board and to avoid the tipping point.
Even Brazil yourself, you'll be celebrating the deforestation levels, but you haven't done as well as you need to do, and you need to do a lot more.
Well, Brazil has been able to reduce significantly deforestation, especially from 2004 to 2012. It has been reduced by 84%. So we know how to deal with deforestation when there is political will behind it. Now the situation has been a bit different, especially in the last 4 years, since deforestation control was not a priority, but now it is, and it has never been as high as it is in the current Lula government. And the results are starting to showing up. So if you compare this semester as for the same period of last year, we already see a reduction of 42%. Of course, we need to keep working and to actually bring significant reductions over the years, but it certainly brings some optimism that we were able to do so.
And just finally, do you think that the pledge of having no new deforestation by 2030, is that achievable? Is that an achievable aim?
Well, it is. It's a very hard one, and that's such an aim that Brazil it should not act alone, because if the production linked to deforestation is acquired abroad, if Brazil does not receive sufficient funding as well as other countries, that's going to be much, much harder. That's why it's an aim that should be not only something that Brazil is leading, but of course, together with our partners regionally, internationally, I'm confident that we are going to be able to deliver.
Rani Rajal, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Thank you.
It was my pleasure.